Hello, everyone. Yes, you did just hear me typing. I was putting in the little poll for the please click thumbs up. Did I even write that in there? I don't even know what I wrote in there. But anyway, here we go. Tonight, I think we've got audio. Let me make sure. Okay, sounds good. So tonight we are working on a pumpkin in pan pastels with colored pencil on top for detail. I am working on Inktense and MeWe. This is the black paper. This is a 5x7, so not terribly large. And I'm going to let the black of the paper work for me. I've already got the black background that goes with the piece, so I don't even need to fill that in. This reference photo, if you want to draw along with me, can be found over at my website. That link is in the video description, along with all of the supplies that I'm using. What else? Is that it? Oh, if you are within the US and would like to bid on this, the link for the auction, which will go on until 10 p.m. Central Time tonight, if you want to own this pumpkin, can be found in the video description as well. And I think we're good. Joseph, I confused him with my poll. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm going to start with the decisions. So here's my thought process here. If I start with the background, like just getting the brown in here, it's going to be hard to judge my values because I'm up against the brown or the black of the paper. It'll feel like I'm too light when really I'm probably not light enough. If I start with the pumpkin and then when I fill in the background after, I'm going to smudge some of the pumpkin color into that background, but then that gives us the look of the reflection, so I think that'll work. That's the way I'm going to go, starting with the pumpkin. So I have these soft tools, these little guys with the little sponges on top. These, is my camera? Yeah, my camera's working. These guys can be found, or you'll want to get lots of these. When you order the soft tools, get a lot of the, here, I'll show you the refill pack. Mine's actually open and going to spill everywhere, but it's a refill pack with all the little sponge replacements. You're going to need those. So the first thing that I want to do is get this cream color in the background. And if we look over here, oops, this is still going apparently. Before we start, we've got from Kirsten, at least I got the R in the right place this time, gave a treat for the boys. Well, okay, I guess they're not going to wake me say live super chat. So you guys are cheating. That was your one and only cheat for the night. You shouldn't have gotten up right then. Such bad hounds. Oh my gosh, I left this open all week and no one got into it. I take back my bad hound thing because they've had access to this. Like alone in this room, they're able to come in whenever they want and no one helps themselves. Okay, they're very good. There you go. Good boys. Thank you for biting my hand, Wade. Thank you, Kirsten. I'm never, ever going to get it right. We're lucky I get my own name right. Okay, go lay down. 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 Boys, down. Down. Like if you don't raise your voice, you must not be serious. Go boys. Okay. So getting started with this. I am going to be using, let's see, that can sit there. I'm going to be using a cream color. So to mix that, I'll be mixing white and a bit of, this one is the burnt sienna. These pan pastels, you can see in the palette, they pop out. I do recommend if you get these, get the little trays that you store these in. They have different sizes. Oh my gosh, it makes life so much easier. But I can mix the colors just like I would with paint. I just mix them in the pans. I know that bugs some people, but it works really well. Let's even pull a little bit of the yellow ochre in there. And now we can come over here and fill in the base on that pumpkin. That's a pretty good color. And I'm just going to paint that in with the soft tool. I'll have to put a few layers on this. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but try to stay in the lines. Just make your life easier for later. Reload that up. And if you don't have pan pastels, you can do this with just your colored pencils. It's just going to take you longer to fill this in. But don't feel like you're left out. You certainly can do this project too. Now, as we get into this section, we're going to have more shadow, so I'll start putting some purples and magentas in there. Actually, let's pull some of that red oxide in as well. We'll start getting some of those darker tones now. And then this section will also have a darker area. A little bit of a dark spot over here as well. We're just building this up, so this is going to be a hot mess right now. That's totally fine. And then what I'm doing, I've got a paper towel here, and I'm just wiping that off when I get a lot of the pastel on there, and just wipe it off if it's too much. I'm going to pull some magenta and purple, mix that with a little bit of the red oxide. And I want to darken that up just a little bit. So there, and then on this side as well, and a little bit over here, and on top of that one. Now that's not all we'll do for our shading, but it gives us a good start. Now for the orange, we've got that definite bright orange. I can use the same colors there. I'm going to mix some red in with this brighter orange, and this is, I never get these colors right. Okay, that one's just orange. That is what I would name it, and permanent red. So those are the two colors I mixed here. I'm going to go ahead and get some of this in so I don't have as much work to do when I start with the colored pencils. And I'm letting each of these little brush strokes show. I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. It's kind of blotchy. That is what we want. The cool thing with pen pastels, they have a lot of colors, but you do not need to run out and buy all of them. I've got the set of 20. It's the only colors I've ever had, and I've never hit a point where I felt like I couldn't mix something I needed from just that set of 20. And they've lasted me. I haven't had to replace any of these. I've been using the same ones for years. So it's not something like some materials you go through pretty fast. I don't find that to be the case with this. Of course, I don't work huge with them usually, so that has something to do with it. Now, as we get over into these, we're going to start getting a lot darker. So I can pull some green. We'll get this olivey green. Actually start mixing some black in there too. We're just starting to build that up. I'm not going to try to put too much detail here. We're going to do that with the colored pencils, and I'll have to fix the color. Mine's a little bit brighter than what you're seeing, or the camera is a bit brighter than what I'm actually seeing on mine. But let's go ahead. We've got the brown and some white, maybe a little bit of gray for this. And I haven't even changed the soft tool. I've been using the same one this whole time. It's fine. Like if some of the other colors blend into it, it's not a big deal. If I needed like really pure colors, I would worry about it, but not here. I just keep wiping it off on my paper towel and reusing the same one. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and actually let's get some brighter areas in the pumpkin. And I think I'll end up having to spray this with Spectrafix, let it dry, and then get some of these brighter areas over it, because they're not showing up very well at this point. I've got too much product on the paper. I'm using the smooth side of the Inktense, and so you only have so much grip there. It's nice because it's smooth, but it's also annoying because it's smooth, and so stuff isn't sticking as well. I find both, with Inktense, everything sticks on both sides pretty well compared to some other papers, but that only gets you so far. This is, hold on, let me see. There was a Discord. Was that from the mods group? Oh, nope. Okay. Yeah, I'll spray that and go over it. So before I spray it though, I'm going to go ahead and just take the brown, and I'm going to pull a little bit of the red oxide into that brown so that's not so grayish. And we're just going to get the hint of the wood that this is sitting on. Now this is where you can see what I was talking about. Some of the pumpkin color smudged into it, but it just ends up looking like a bit of the reflection of the pumpkin, so it's kind of cool. Now I'm going to take a piece of this paper towel and just smudge that out so it stays really soft. I don't need it that dark. I just want the hint of that in there. A little bit more behind the pumpkin. We'll pull that out. I don't want it to just sit right under. That will look really weird, so we want to pull that back behind it a bit. And I'm going to soften that again. I'm going to come through with some black. And again, just wiping this off on my paper towel. I'm just kind of tapping. If you rub too hard, this will rip. These are not super sturdy. Now I'm going to take some black. I'm going to create a bit of shading under here. And just pull that so that it's horizontal lines. Just streak that out. Just looks like a bit of the wood grain. And that's about it. I just want to soften it a bit. Okay. I'm going to spray this with Spectrafix, which oh, there it is. I actually do kind of know where it is. I'm going to test that just because, okay, we're good. And then I'm going to use a hairdryer to dry it so that it'll dry faster. And the Inktense MeTense is really absorbent, so when I spray it with this, even with the light spray, it's going to start to warp. I'll use the hairdryer, speeds things up, and it'll make it dry completely flat. Plus, I've got it taped down on the edges with an acid-free, pH-neutral masking tape, so that helps really keep it back in its own shape. So just really lightly, if you go too dark, you're going to make your pastel get really dark. So we'll just lightly go over that, and then take the hairdryer. And you can see this paper starting to move with the wind force from the hairdryer. You can really see what I mean by it stretches a lot when it gets even a little bit wet with the Spectrafix. I'm going to do a little bit more with the pan pastels, and then we'll switch over to colored pencil. So back to the shading. I'm still going to use the black here. So what happens is when I use the Spectrafix, it's not like a varnish where it's perfectly sealed and it won't smudge. If I run my hand across this, it's going to smudge everywhere. But it helps it to adhere better to the paper so other layers can go on top. But they're still going to mix together with what's previously there. It's not like a solid finish there. But what happens if you don't spray it, it gets to where everything's just kind of getting muddy and it's blending too much. Wade. A little bit of a shadow here. A lot of this is going to be done with the colored pencil, so I'm not going too crazy. Lightly blend that. We're going to do some highlights. I'll spray and dry this again, and I see what we've got a gift from Tessa for the boys. No, not yet. Yeah, I saw your head pop up. Not yet. So right now, this side of my soft tool is just really, really dark. We can blend some of it off. I don't want to just jump into the cream tones that I need because it's just going to create mud. So what I'm going to do instead is flip it over. The other side is perfectly clean, so I can use that. I can't act all excited about Tessa's gift, or look, Wade already knows. Look at that bad cow watching. So I'm going to go with mostly white, a little bit of my red oxide, and let's just pull. Yeah, it's not really showing up that much, so I'll do most of the highlights then with the colored pencil. A little bit. Yeah, we'll just do that with the pencil. Okay, I'm going to spray that one more time, and then if you use the spray bottle that the Spectrafix comes in, you get way heavier droplets. Okay, and I'm going to switch out. So let's first get the treat from Tessa. Look, all I had to say is Tessa. He knows your name, Tessa. You want a super chat? You get this, and then we've got to switch over to colored pencil. What do you think? If I can get my fingers to work. There we go. Thank you so much, Tessa. Okay, boys. Is that good? You've been learning to look at me. Look at me. Nope, wait. Wait. Good boy. He's doing so good with making eye contact before he gets treats, which was a weird problem. Like, shouldn't be that big of a problem. He wouldn't do it. So I'm getting bit way less when I give him treats. He's just too chompy. That's it. Go lay down. Say thank you to Tessa and lay down. To your spots. Okay, I'm going to get my pencils out. Gibson, lay down. Gibson. I'm going to get my pencils out, and then we will get on to the next stage. So while we do that, we've got a message from the boys. Without treats, these puppies are so sad. Your Patreon pledge of only $4 or more gives them cookies of happiness. Act now, and the bad cow gets a treat too. Oh, and you also get over 300 art lessons and a new one every single week, plus other rewards. Sign up at patreon.com/Lachri. Okay, so we lost the camera because we now have these up here. Actually, I can probably, not easily. Okay, let me see really quick. I do want to fix, this is a bit bright. I believe I can, it's not terribly inaccurate, but I think I can make it a little bit better for you guys. Let's go, not quite, yeah, that's a lot closer. Not exact, but much, much closer. Okay. We will go with it. So first I need to pick out my colors. Let's start, well, actually first I'm going to need some glassine. Just going to tape this here, and that's going to allow me to rest my hand on the board as I work. So what glassine is, it's pH neutral, acid free, you can touch the artwork, not going to cause problems. You could put another piece of paper there, it's better than nothing. You don't want the oils of your skin touching the work, besides the fact that you would be smudging things. But I want to keep my hands off it as much as possible. This allows me to do that, but also nothing sticks to it. So like a little piece of pastel gets under it or something like that, it's not going to end up smudging all over the place like it would with paper, where it would stick to the paper and then stick to the other paper. So this really, you don't have many problems if you go with glassine, and it's fairly inexpensive. You can get a roll of it. It lasts you a really good long time. I also use this for the artwork when I ship it, if it's like an acrylic painting, the oil painting that I'm waiting for it to dry before I can ship that, but I'll wrap everything in this. That way I don't have the non-acid free cardboard pushing directly on the artwork. So this stuff is wonderful. Moving on, let's get started. I'm just going to start with the stem. So I need a tan color. Do I have? I don't even have my thing. Oh yeah, I do. Okay. I can sharpen my pencils. I am good. And maybe a black. This should be good. Let me sharpen these. They've got a bunch of sharpeners over here that are old, so they're probably not in the greatest condition. Let's see if any of these will work. Actually, cream would be better than gray. Let me put that back. I just changed my mind. It doesn't really matter what colors you use that much. It's, are your values correct? Dark, dark, I can't talk. Dark's dark enough, light's light enough. A lot of people, when they're getting started with this, they focus so much on the color. Where do I not have any cream pencils that are in here? I guess not. But they will focus so much on the color, thinking if I just knew what color to use, my work would look realistic. No, it's not about the color, it's about the values. Or your dark's dark enough, your light's light enough, getting that contrast in there. That is what will make your work look realistic. I could paint this pumpkin in purples and it would just look like he's a realistic pumpkin under purples, as long as my values were correct. Like right now, I'm technically using a warm gray instead of cream. It doesn't matter, it looks fine. I mean, I could go through the trouble of finding one of my cream pencils, but it's not going to make that big of a difference in the end, so why bother? It's the values. So we're just going to build up these shadows. So pay attention to where the shadow, the darker areas are. We've got some roses in there. And it doesn't need to be exact to your reference photo. We just want it to be close. We're just using that as a guideline. And look already, it looks fairly three-dimensional and it's sticking out there. I'm going to pull some Caput Mortem, one of my favorite pencils. I use this on pretty much everything. This one is a Polychromos pencil. I probably go through more of these. This and black are the two colors I use the most of with Polychromos. There we go, just a little bit of sketching lines in there. Okay, and now, do I want to start with the dark or the light? Let's start with the darker area. Let me open this really quick. I've got my reference photo over here if you're wondering what I'm looking at. That's going to take a minute. Oh, hold on. Having issues with my reference photo. Hold on just a second here. My computer's thinking about it. Still thinking about it. Maybe. Come on, load. Oh, the fan kicked on. You know it's taking it seriously now. Why is this a problem? There we go. No, so close. Okay, I think we've got it. Nope, it's still having some issues. Okay, so I'm going to use the Caput Mortem in the brown for this area here, the shadowed area. It's not really much different in value than what I already have. It'll look a lot different once I get the darker area or the light areas in. This is actually the right color. It's just that what's next to it isn't light enough yet, so it doesn't appear to be the right. I'm also going to need some greens. This is a good one. This one is Chromium Green Opaque. We'll use that because these greens are more of a brownish green. We don't want too bright. We've got these little sections of color coming out here. Now, if you are an artist, when fall comes around, trust me, pick these up at the grocery store whenever you see them and use them for reference photos so you've got them all year round. This is one that I took myself. Every year I get a bunch of these and take so many photos. And I'm going to have a lot of this green tone. Let me see. Oh, my bottom camera moved. Hold on one second. No, the bottom camera didn't move. The bottom camera is not in use right now. Actually, I can just turn that off. I don't need it because the pencils are in the way. So let me just turn it off. I don't need it there. I just can disable it when I figure out how to use my tools. Let's just deactivate that. There we go. Now I can put my hand over here and make it really weird. Okay. Oh, and we have D-Lane Creative Arts sent a, I can't say it too loud, a super chat. You didn't hear anything. Says, I have learned so much from you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay. Oops,
Without treats.
Hold on. They both know. Look at them. You want a super chat? Thank you, D-Lane Creative Arts. Oh, really? Are you going to huff about this? Am I taking too long? For you? You got to look at me. Wait, good boy. Oh, and see, he doesn't, if I can get him to make eye contact and then shove the treat in his mouth, I don't get chomped. He's not as excited about it. Good boy. Yes, that's very good. Okay, go lay down. Thank you so much. Go lay down, boys. Down. Down. Wade's got to, you can't, yeah, you can see him. Look at him slowly backing up. I don't know how to turn around. I'm kind of derpy. All the way down, boys. Okay. Thank you so much. So I'm pulling more of this green in here, and all this is going to look way different when we come back through with these highlights. I am going to actually have to find a cream pencil. As much as I said it didn't matter that much, I'm going to want one now that I'm looking at the highlights. And I'm just kind of making these little sketches, little squiggly marks, little round. Variation is the key for this. I don't want everything looking the same. And what will happen is I keep layering this. It's going to look, it right now looks out of focus. It'll look like it gets more and more in focus the more I work on it. And let's see. I could use cream from another brand. Oh, that's a pretty color. That is Karen Dosh's Brown Ochre 50%. I like the polychromos for this because they sharpen to such a fine point. Yeah, that cream is a little too yellowy, I think. I don't want that. I want off-white. Ivory's the color I'm thinking of. I'm saying cream. What I mean is ivory. I've got so many of those pencils. I just don't know where they are right now. But the reason that I like these, the polychromos are a harder lead, and so the line is going to be a bit cleaner right now for what I'm doing, because I don't plan to blend this out with OMS or anything. So that's why I'm liking the polychromos. You can use whatever you want. Let me grab that. You should have more here. Yep. Oh, look at you two being good boys. Okay, brand new ivory pencil. So that is what I'm going to start using that. And I really do like this Brown Ochre 50%. I'm going to mix those two for a lot of this. And I'm going to start creating these definite shapes, pulling it into these dark areas. This is really going to pull things into focus. And I'm putting a decent amount of pressure at this point. I don't plan to do a lot of layering over this, so I can do some burnishing, especially around the edges that I want nice and clean. I'm burnishing on top with this Brown Ochre 50%. Yeah, that's a beautiful combination. And I'm just going to work back and forth until it looks as in focus and detailed as what I want. So you can see it's really blurry looking right now. And pay attention to where the bright areas are. If we look at the reference photo, again, that can be found on my website, we've got right in here is the brightest area. It's a little bit darker here and way darker as we move out. So we want to capture that so that we don't want like the same brightness all the way across, or our pumpkin looks very flat. But what I can do is start using this ivory, mapping out where everything goes, and then I can do the shading on top of that where I need it to be darker. And it's really just a layering process. Layer until it looks good. It's not going to look pretty in the beginning. Don't get discouraged by that and give up thinking, oh, I ruined it. It looks terrible. We'll keep layering. And I am not trying to copy my shapes or anything in there exact to the reference photo. I'm really worried more about where are my lights, where are my darks. That's what's going to make the big difference here. See, even here, I'm not going to jump to ivory even there for the lightest area. I'm going to do a base first with this Brown Ochre, and then I'll put ivory a little bit over it in a couple of spots. Just a little bit where it needs to be a bit brighter. But that whole area is more in shadow, so we don't want to go too crazy with it. Defining the tops of these. See how it starts pulling everything in focus. And let's say I put ivory on and it's too bright. Just go back over it with a darker color. It's very easy to darken something up. It's a lot harder to make it lighter. So if you go too light, it's not typically going to be an issue. Like right there, that is too light. No big deal. I'm just going to take my brown tone and let's soften that out. And I'm burnishing. I'm pushing fairly hard there so it comes out nice and smooth. There we go. Now, any area where I want it super bright, I'm going to take a more opaque white pencil, something that has a higher wax content. So Derwent Lightfast is really opaque. Derwent Drawing is really opaque, not as good for detail, but it is very opaque. Or my Karen Dosh Luminance White, and do that just for my brightest areas. And it's not that I would be trying to bring anything to white. It would just lighten whatever I put it over. Get that really mottled look in here. I'm gonna need a darker brown. I actually, you know what, instead of dark brown, I think I'm gonna go with a purple, like nightshade, or actually just purple with Derwent Light Fast. No, dark indigo would be too blue, not you. Nightshade, so here are two. My pencil box is falling over. So I'm gonna use this purple. Yeah, that works really well. This is Derwent Light Fast Purple, which is really more of a reddish purple color. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those now. I'll be answering those at the end of the live stream. And it doesn't have to be a pan pastel question, any art question at all. Now, I like using this purple color for a lot of these darker shadows instead of just jumping straight to black, because it's going to have a much deeper look. I'm going to get better depth in the piece if you just jump straight to black for everything, for every shadow. And I'm not opposed. I know some artists don't use black at all. I use it all the time, but you want to not depend on it for everything or things start looking flat. More of that olive green in here, and I'll be mixing that with the purple. Let those two colors work together. That gives me a sort of brownish tone, a really dark color. Just burnishing, blending those two. And that purple, you can see it stands out really well. I can also take that and line some of the oranges to find that a bit better. I'm not outlining everything, just a little bit here and there, shade it in. Why am I using the back of the paper? Who's to say which is the front or which is the back? I'm using the smooth side because that's the texture that I wanted for this. But all papers, I mean, you can use either side. It's just personal preference. But I wanted the smooth side on this so that my end result is very smooth. You call it the back, I'm calling it the front. But it's one of those things that it's not even necessarily, in this case, a right or wrong answer. Which do you prefer? The other side with the more tooth, you're going to be able to build up more of the pan pastels and it really grips to it more because there is more tooth. So it depends on what you're looking for. But the pan pastels stick to everything so well. I used to always use the rough side whenever I used pan pastels. And then I realized with Canson and with pan pastels, it sticks to everything. Like it doesn't seem to matter that much which side I go with. So using the smoother side makes more sense because the colored pencil prefer a smoother surface to get smooth lines and details and blending. And for sharpening my pencils, I'm just using these little Coom handheld metal sharpeners. Those are my favorites. We've got a shadow I'm going to pull up here. So using that, could put Mortem over the oranges. Actually, let me get a brighter, definite orange. I think, do you want Light Fast or Caran d'Ache? I'll use Caran d'Ache, has a nicer, yeah, they've got the orange that I really like that's super bright. Let's brighten some of this up and clean that up so it's more defined. Do we have a red? I need a bright reddish orange too. Ooh, there we go. That one looks good. This one is, God, I hate the writing on these. Cornelian. If you have not already, please like this video, share it wherever you share your social medias, whatever platforms you're using. Please like, please share, please leave a comment too. That really helps me. That will allow more people to find this video and hopefully get to follow along with lessons. So this is that cornelian, it's that reddish orange, and this is allowing me to get a little bit more detailing in that orange that I already have. Let's pull some Caput Mortem in there where we want a deeper shadow. I'm going to switch over to purple. And remember, I keep saying purple, but it is a reddish purple color. It's not really like purple dioxazine. Not that that couldn't also work, but it's not what I'm using here. I'm pushing really hard where I want that dark. Mostly moving the pencil in little circles. Now, if you're looking at that reference photo, it's not that there's a bunch of purple in the photo or a lot of magenta, reddish purple. It's that if any time I'm using orange, I will almost always use purples and magentas because they look so good together. So you can see on the reference photo where it's really a dark orange around the lighter orange, mixing that purple in there just looks good. See how I'm pushing really hard, and look how bright that comes out. Super opaque, being that that Caran d'Ache Luminance is a more opaque color. I want a few bright areas in here, not too much. Again, I'm going to use a Caput Mortem and define these edges between the orange and that cream color. I'm going to switch over to black as I move down at the bottom. Let that layer in just because I do have the black from the paper I want that to blend in with. And I'm even going to pull that out onto the bottom and leave it kind of sketchy so any lines just look like they're part of the wood grain. And then that transition from the black up into the shadow of the pumpkin, I'm going to switch over to the Caput Mortem. And then we've got this dark area in this corner, and we'll put some more green. I'm kind of going around some of the edges of where the green's going to be. Some more of the purple around the oranges here. See how it really cleans up and defines those edges. Unfortunately, the webcams make it a little bit softer, a little bit more blurry than what it is. It's super in focus on this one. Let's get some more orange in here. And then I'm going to take that darker orange and mix that. Notice that it's not one perfect color. This is why I'm always saying it's not even about the color, it's about the value. So it wasn't pick the perfect orange. If I did, I just have flat orange. I'd have a cartoon. I'm using a light orange, a dark orange. I'm using purples and violets, and I'm getting a variation of all of that. So the orange areas that you would quickly glance at that pumpkin and go, okay, it's orange. It's really, I'm using 4 different colors to get those tones in there. And it's not about finding the perfect 4 colors, it's the perfect 4 values, getting that variation. That is going to make your work look so much more realistic. It doesn't matter how much detail you do or what perfect colors you choose. If your values aren't in there, it's not going to look realistic. It's not going to have that 3-dimensional look. We've got a shadow right on the inner corner right here. We want to make sure we capture those. I'm just using Caput Mortem for those shadows. Okay, I want to pull out some of the brighter areas more. It looks brighter on the video than it really does in person, but if somebody bids on this, I want to make sure your painting is perfect. So I'm going to pull out Oyster Works. White would have worked. Oh, Caran d'Ache Luminance, or not Caran d'Ache, Derwent Lightfast. They have Oyster, Arctic, and white, and they're almost all the same. Like if I have to replace any of them, I'm just going to buy white for all of them. Like it is such a minor change. It's like how many shades of white, like there, it looks white. It's, I mean, yeah, I can see that there's a minor difference, but really in the end, it's all gonna look the same. So that's why I'm looking through there thinking, oh, I need white. Oyster, good enough. It's pretty much the same thing. Let me see if I can darken this up and make it so you can see it a bit better. I know you guys probably get sick of me constantly changing stuff as I'm working, but I want it to be as accurate as possible if you're following along. That's closer, kind of. We'll go with that. Okay, so again, I'm using oyster or white, whatever you want to go with. And now the white is not, don't look at the pumpkin and say everywhere that's light needs this color. No, it's going to be focused more in right in here, and then it skips because this is more in shadow, and then a little bit right here. That's it. We don't want to put this everywhere. These are our lightest colors, and I am pushing pretty hard. You can see I'm breaking the tip of the pencil. I'm also using this to clean up edges as needed. Like as I come over here, this stays with the darker values. A little bit over here, where the light is just catching. And if you go buy your own pumpkins, you can do this with like flowers from the grocery store too, whatever you can do with a fork out of your drawers, it doesn't matter. But get interesting lighting. Try taking photos when you're doing your own reference photos early morning or late afternoon when that sun is lower in the sky. Natural lighting, I have the best luck with natural lighting versus artificial setting up my own. And I mean, this one was with artificial, but I've found the most gorgeous lighting if you can find the perfect spot in your home or outside where the sun is lower, you can get some really interesting pieces. But that's going to make for a much better piece than something that's just evenly lit in the day all around. You really want those definite shadows and highlights in your work. So try to get that in your reference photos. No, not black. What am I doing with that? So get some more green. Let's pull that here. At this stage, it's just looking at my piece and deciding what would make it better, where it could use a little bit more detail. I can even use that green. Actually, I need to sharpen that green. I can use that around the edge of some of the orange. I don't want to outline all the orange with purple or everything with one color because that's not going to look realistic either. So some of it has darker outlines with a bit of the purple. We'll have some with the green. Let's start pulling some of that orange in here too. Now this orange is too light, but I'm starting with the light and then I can darken it up with the other color. Remember, it's always easier to darken something up than to make it lighter. Now we'll go over it with the darker orange. Pulling this right in that crease. Pumpkin butt crack? That's kind of what it looks like. I don't like how far up this comes and then down. I'm going to pull this a little bit lower and even this out. I just have to add a little bit more pressure to the pencil so that that really softens. There we go. And then I'll pull. I'm good with there being a shadow. I just didn't like how the shape there wasn't quite what I liked. broke my pencil, pushing too hard. So I did the cream or the ivory color there, and then I can just, it works like a glaze where I'm just tinting the color by working a darker color or a lighter color over it. But if I would have just put the green there or the orange there, it wouldn't have really shown up because everything was so dark. Actually, for that highlight, where did my, there it is, it's hiding my Caran d'Ache Luminance color. That needs to be sharper. Now this is the thing, yeah, hate webcams, but it's kind of blurry, but in person it's rough looking. It has that sketchy, the little bumpy look. I want to smooth that out by having a sharper pencil and pushing a little harder. And this is why I like the polychromals for this method more if the color I want is available, because I can push really hard and sharpen to a really fine point without it breaking. With a softer lead, your wax-based pencils, they show up better, but it's harder to get that smooth edge on paper like this. I'm going to take the green and go over that. If I would have just done that with white, it would be too bright. If I would have just done the green, it wouldn't have shown up very well. We are almost done with this guy. There's really not much more he needs. I'm actually really happy with him. Fun, quick little project. This would be great too. I need to get a sketchbook with black paper so I can just do a bunch of different projects like this and that. Have a nice little book of stuff. Just a few little details here and there. Okay, that is it for him. And then if somebody wants to bid on him or buy him, you can get him. The starting bid is $55, and he will come in a black matte. I don't have a black matte over here right now. I've got this cheapo white one. I don't even know where I got this. And what I want to do is hold that up to where that goes, because if I were to sign this without it, I'm going to sign naturally down here. Well, the matte's going to cover it. So I like to put where that's going to go, situate that, and then what color can I want it to show up but not show up. Let's do, maybe I'll do orange and then tone it down with purple. Do I want my signature here or here? I think I want it down here. There we go. So you can see my signature, but it's not like, hi, I'm really in your face. Let me pull it over here. This guy looks like the level of how much he looks better in person than on camera is kind of intense. Yeah, he looks much, you can see the detail a lot better there. There he is, cute little guy, really pretty, looks so much better in person. Again, if you want to bid on him, the link to that is in the video description if you are a US resident. Okay, and now we will go through your questions. Let's see. We'll hold off on that. I'll scroll up. I'm trying to think. There was stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about this week, and I can't remember what it was now. Okay, so we have our first, oh my God, my sponges just went everywhere when I moved that. They finally spilled because I didn't put them where they belong. That'll be fun to clean up tomorrow. Okay. Dolphin Soul said, how close are you with the hair dryer and on high for the Spectrafix? So yes, I'm on high, but it's a weak hair dryer. It's like a $15 cheapo, got it at Ross, like super cheap hair dryer. And I'm probably about 12 inches or so, maybe a little bit less. But if I have had a hairdryer in the past that someone had given me, and it was like this super expensive, high power, I don't know why anyone would pay for this because it would burn your scalp off. It was harsh. But that thing, I had to be careful when I used it with my art because it was too hot. That one actually could have melted, like if I was drying acrylics, it would have caused the acrylics to bubble if I was too close to it. So, and that thing was terrible. But yeah, this one's fairly weak, so I can be a bit closer, and I always use high heat with that. Python said, for me, polychromos gives the smoothest blends as they layer so well. I use them for blending and detail. It's just time consuming. So happy with my 120 set. Yeah, polychromos are amazing. My 3 brands that are like my go-to for everything, I use a combination normally of polychromos if I want something super sharp detail and a hard point so I can sharpen that to that fine point. Polychromos are my go-to. If I want smooth blending for a background, Derwent Lightfast, those and Derwent Drawing are my go-tos there. Like nothing beats those two for getting really smooth backgrounds. Caran d'Ache Luminance, they are more opaque, so that's great if you want a more opaque color. Although a lot of the colors in the Derwent Lightfast are more opaque than the Caran d'Ache Luminance, so kind of a weird thing there. But yeah, those are my 3 brands that I am like in love with. But not just the name, like it's not just like, oh, I'll use any Derwent pencil. Absolutely not. Derwent Lightfast or Derwent Drawing. What was their, or Derwent has their, oh crap, what is it called? Their other Color Soft. Oh dear God, that is the worst pencil in the history of pen. Like it is, I will take Prismacolor any day over that, which is saying something because you guys know me and my Prismacolors that my feelings there. But the Color Soft is so bad. It's like hard wax. It doesn't layer right. It doesn't blend right. And somebody's going to be, it works great for me. Promise you your work is not what I want mine to look like. I've looked at everyone's work who uses Color Soft and none of it is what I'm going for. If you're happy with it, there's nothing wrong with that. Enjoy your work, but it's not what I want. That pencil cannot do what I wanted, what I want a colored pencil to do. So I hate those. So it's not about like, oh, I just love Derwent. I like Derwent Lightfast, like that specifically, and Derwent Drawing. And then of course Caran d'Ache Luminance, I'm not a huge fan of, and same thing, Caran d'Ache. I love Caran d'Ache Luminance, not a huge fan of Caran d'Ache Pablos, like just they're waxy and hard. It's like Prismacolor Very Thins, which I was never a fan of those, even when I used to use Prismacolor. It just doesn't work well for my technique. The only time that I really like the Pablos is if I'm working on sanded paper and I want those final layers of sharp detail. I like the Pablos for that. Like they're real opaque, they show up well on that. But other than that, not a huge fan. And then of course, polychromos are amazing. Okay. Cat's Art Pick said, is sanded paper the right paper for pan pastels? You can. I think I have used sanded paper for pan pastels. I normally just use, lately I've been hooked on the Canson Inktense, but yeah, you can, sanded paper would work fine too. It's going to be the way, like more will grip to it. So I know I have some that have been some of my favorite pieces I used on that. And for sanded paper, I recommend Lux Archival. It's the only sanded paper I will use because UArt is not archival on the back. Fisher 400 to a lesser extent. They are not acid free. And so that does soak through the front, and UArt themselves have come out and said, artists who say that don't know what they're talking about. Except I tested on the front and the back, and the front ends up being affected. It took a few years, but the front ended up showing not acid free. That's a problem. So I don't trust that. That company's shady as heck anyway. Like I do not trust UArt. But yeah, they're really shady. But yeah, the Lux Archival from Brush and Pencil is the only sanded paper I use. It's expensive, but it's amazing. And that one is archival, acid-free front and back. Okay. Pablo said, so my question for after the lesson, when trying to make reproductions of art made on black paper, how do you get the color of the paper to show up correctly on your scanned picture? For me, it goes too gray. Lightroom. Every photo I take there, I don't know, it is so rare, and by rare I mean it doesn't happen, that I take a photo and just straight out of the camera it's good to go for prints. Everything has to go in Lightroom and be edited. I need to make my darks a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, just depending on the photo and the lighting. If something was causing glare, I've got to fix that in Lightroom. I fix everything in Lightroom for my photos. Like it never is good enough without any editing. So that is what I do there. And then when I take a photo, I'll usually put a white piece of paper next to it it makes it easier to check your white balance when you're in Lightroom. So I'm not good enough with my cameras to make the camera do what I need it to do. Everything gets put into Lightroom. But no, I want to warn you too. I've seen artists do this where they'll take a photo, they put it into Lightroom, and they make adjustments, and it looks better than the original. You should not do that. If it looks better than the original, then go back and make those changes on the original. Don't just display that as, look how good my art was. That wasn't your art then. So, and especially if you're selling it, it's not an accurate representation. That's why I constantly trying to show you guys, I wish you could see this. The difference is so much, no, you can see. Yeah, there you go. That shows pretty well. This looks so much better in person than it does on the webcam. It can look better than the photograph as long as that better is accurate to what, like if somebody were to buy it, is that what it's really going to look like? You want to make sure that it's an accurate representation of your art. I know a lot of people will work on black paper, especially. Those seem to be the most common. And they'll go to art shows with colored pencil. And what they showed on the internet is not what that art looked like in person. And I just lose a lot of respect for the artists who are like, I mean, you're always going to have differences in monitors and stuff, but you can tell they photoshopped or edited it so heavily. And it's like, that's not what your painting looks like at all. You don't have that level of contrast. Like if that's what you wanted, that's what you should have gone and done in the artwork. So that's just my warning. If you're going to edit your work, which you should to make it look more accurate, but do it to make it look more accurate, not to make it look better and deceive the buyer. Okay, it's kind of like buying coral online. Vendors will Photoshop the crap out of it to make the coral look like it glows more than it does in person, and people get the coral and like, wow, that doesn't look at all the same. And you can tell when it's Photoshopped too far when they really pushed it, but people buy it, and then they're really mad when they get it and it doesn't look like that in person. Okay, Noctis Gamma said, I have been considering using colored pencils. I love drawing with pencils, but never knew much about coloring with them. I feel ready to give them a shot because of your videos. I love what you create. Thank you. That's awesome. Yes, do give them a try. Fly Me to the Moon said, your pumpkin looks better than the reference photo. Thank you. Yeah, I'm really happy with how he came at. Like, this is I'm happy with this guy. Oh, we've got a bid for the pumpkin. Oh, you already got a home, buddy. Okay. What kind of projector do you use to transfer the image onto the paper? I use one by Artograph. It's a digital projector. I paid like $750 for mine. They're not cheap. They are now like $5 or $550 on, it's still Artograph, but it's not the same as mine, but it should work about the same. It's just way less on Blick. And it's like $5 or $550 right around there. You're going to save up for a while for that. That's a big purchase, but once you get it, and this is why you don't see me reviewing those often. That's one of those purchases, you get one and you're going to use it. I mean, mine's long, but they haven't made mine for years. It doesn't matter. It still works. I'm not replacing that. So, but yeah, the Artograph is the one that I use. Now they have the Artograph ones where you like set it on, it has a light bulb and a mirror inside and it projects on that way. That is not super useful. That's very difficult to work with. The other way you can go like this, because it's smaller, I drew it on a piece of paper here. And I mean, you can draw it directly on the paper, but you're gonna have eraser marks. I'd rather have eraser marks here or on another piece of paper and then trace it. And then what I can do is just tape it. And obviously that's not the same size. I just held it there and kind of sketched with a pencil underneath it to make it kind of close because I didn't need it to be exact, but that works as well. Or tracing and transfer paper like an actual like normal white transfer paper works. Art of Raven D said, I raged when I saw some of the Arctic and Oyster pencils when I opened my Derwent Lightfast set when I first got it. Yeah, there was something that I did where I was like, oh, this makes sense. It was like one of them showed up better. That's what it was. On white paper, I was working on something and I will often put down white first and I push really hard and burnish with it so that you can, when you color over it, the white like glows. It's hard to explain. I show it in other videos, but it's almost like it protects that paper from color and I'll put white first. Problem with like a normal white, like true white, if it's the same as the paper, you can't see where you put it. Oyster and what was the other one? Oyster and they've got a few colors. What are they? I'll tell you right now. We've got Oyster, we've got Arctic, and I thought there was one more, but they're all these almost white. They show up, you can see where you put them on the white paper. So I'm like, okay, I'll kind of give it to them because that is helpful, because that is a technique I do often enough. I can see where it goes, but it looks white in the end enough. It has just enough color. But I'm like, do we really need that in a Lightfast pencil? Like, it's white. It wasn't going to fade anyway. Like, yeah, I found a use for it, but it was still a weird, like, you needed 3 of those. One would have, like, one off-white would have been whatever. Sneak said, do you have the Caran d'Ache palette aquarelle? I have the Museum Aquarelle, the watercolor Caran d'Ache. I have those. Would be excellent for mixing any palette. Oh, no, that's something else. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to look at for it. Mixing any palette on. It's smooth on one side and rough on the other. I use it to mix colored pencils on. I don't know what that is. Interesting. Brittany said, I had a professor of a in-person instruction to photography class in 2019 semester believed I belonged in a different department because I don't learn in an auditory lecture way best. Yeah, that's our entire school system is so bad about figuring out how people learn, and especially with kids. They don't all learn the same. And I found that when I was teaching, one method that works really good for one artist is not necessarily going to work on the other. And like when the teachers won't help figure that out, and I get it, when the classroom is overly filled, it makes it hard. But yeah, hold on, my chair's coming loose there. Just tighten that up. But yeah, that's always frustrating. Python said, yes, Polychromos gives me the smoothest blend compared to Luminance and Lightfast. I barely use OMS, and when I do use Luminance, because I only have 12, throw in Lightfast. Sneak said, do you like Clairefontaine? I've not used that. That's not... Wait, Clairefontaine, is that Pastel Matte? Because that I did like, and I can never keep the name straight. I only used it like once or twice, and it was amazing, but I don't really have a reason for not using it again. Let's see. Most of my OMS goes towards my oil paintings. Who could have guessed? Alice said, for a building artist brand, would it be better to focus on certain art style versus medium versus subject, etc., drawing a series of musical instruments, especially for the beginning stage of an established brand? I don't think it matters, honestly. You produce what you like. That's what's going to matter. I know of artists who are like, no, I'm only going to be a colored pencil artist because that's what I'm going to be known for. I mean, good, fine, go for it, but the buyer doesn't care. Like people... They care about, there's something about what you painted or drew that they looked at and it just gave them those happy tingles. They want to display it in their home. They don't care if it was in colored pencil or oil. Well, okay, some people are weird. They think that oil paintings are fancier than anything else because, oh, oil painting. It makes no difference. When it's hanging on the wall, it all looks the same. But if it's well done. But no, for the most part, the buyer doesn't really care. They care about the type of work that you're using and the style that you're doing. So like if you go to my website, lachri.com, go under my gallery, I've got all kinds of subjects from portraits, and I put portraits in there just to show off, look what I can do. That's just a show off. I don't do commissions with that anymore. But most of, like my favorite stuff's going to be the surreal stuff, but I still throw on the oranges like I recently did because it's a good show off. Look what I can do. It may be a little bit different for me because I want students to see, like your teacher knows what she's doing. Like you're not hiring a beginner to teach you beginner lessons, which is painfully common. Actually, speaking of that, I saw a lady was selling her courses. How to draw people, it was the most painfully bad, embarrassing thing. I don't know why she put the effort into making a website, but people were apparently paying for it. And it's like, if your teacher can't draw, and she could not draw, she's not going to be able to teach you to draw. So that was kind of my thing. I wanted to make sure, like in my gallery, I do have a bigger variety because I'm showing just anything that is, look what I can do. But at the same time, even when I'm selling work, different things are going to connect to people. Somebody who wants the pumpkin piece may not be the same person who wants a cuttlefish. But it doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to sell the cuttlefish because once I drew a pumpkin. Draw what you love. I love both personally. So draw what you love. That's what's going to show in your work. But you are going to develop a style. I think the style is what's going to matter the most, not the subject matter, not the medium. I think those two fall way further down the list of things that are important. Your style, your touch, what colors you typically like, the way that you blend, the way that you do your details, the way that you do your values, your shadows, your contrast, your highlights. That is going to make a bigger difference, I think, than just, I would say subject matter would fall next. So style, subject matter, maybe the subject matter is up there because different people like different things. But as far as like medium is so far down the list of importance when it comes to developing your brand. But the most important thing is painting what you love because that's what's going to show in your work. It doesn't make sense for me to start painting cars. It's impressive when someone does it, but I don't love it, and that would show in my work. Could I do it? Sure. But it's going to show in my work. I don't have a passion for that. So I think more important than anything else is paint what you love, create with what you love. I don't want to work in oils if I'm in the mood to work in colored pencils. It's going to show in my work that I'm not doing what I love right now. So that I would put at the highest. Do what you love. Style and subject, but you can do multiple subjects. If you love them both, it's fine. So that is my advice there. On the flip side, let's say, okay, for your brand, actually, I will go a little bit further into that because we've got time. But let's say you're building a brand and like on Instagram or whatever. it might be confusing if you're doing cars and wildlife. You might want a separate account for your car art and a separate account for your wildlife, because if you're posting wildlife, someone saw it come up on Instagram suggested, and they're like, oh, that's a cool artist, I'm gonna follow them. And then the next day you post a car, they don't remember your name. They're just like, why am I getting cars on my feed? I'm not interested in this, and they may unfollow you. So in that case, the subject matter you might want two different Instagram accounts for something like that, because you do get a lot of people who won't necessarily remember you. They're just following you because they liked the subject, that you painted wildlife. So that would be, I think, so separate that I would go ahead and separate those into two separate accounts if that was something that you did regularly. I hope that makes sense. This is a lot of me thinking out loud because there's so many factors to everything. It's not a simple yes or no, but yeah, so some things to think about. Let's see. Brittany Daniel said, I've seen a 99.99 projector that has been used in the dark, has to be used in the dark in order to enlarge images, photos onto canvas paper on the Best Buy website. It might work. Any digital projector, as long as it'll allow you to adjust so that you can make it look like it's flat and not at an angle, and that it will hold a static image, should work. Mine, I can do it in the day, it can be bright in here and I can see just fine. But it's not a big deal to make it dark in the room if that makes it easier, as long as it can hold that static image. Lisa said, most artists really struggle with horses. No, wait. Most artists, or is it Lisa most? That would change the context there. No, I see what it says. Okay, I'm reading it wrong. Most artists, this is from Sneaks. Most artists really struggle with horses. Most paintings, the legs are bad enough that in real life you'd have to shoot the horse. I mean, that could be said of any animal. If you can't draw a horse, you can't draw anything else. I don't think horses are particularly difficult. I think a lot of people start out there, they love horses and they therefore want to draw them, and that's why that happens. But I think, you don't get a lot of photos of horses laying down, whereas with dogs, a lot of our photos are them laying down, so we can hide that, because trust me, most artists that are beginning are terrible at drawing dog feet. It's bad. So I think that's just common when someone is new. And I wouldn't say most artists, I would say most beginner artists. Most artists I follow are all more advanced, and I've never seen a problem with that. But yeah, if you're a beginner, stuff's not going to look so hot. That's not uncommon. Brittany said, because of my disabilities, I need written step-by-step instructions with images, photos provided at every step of the written step-by-step instructions. Yeah, and it's hard because even with me, it's not really possible for me to do that with my lessons. I can see where a teacher would struggle, especially if they have a lot. So yeah, I can see where that would be a challenge for sure. Python said, I saw someone go viral and sell horribly made portraits, something that took 5 minutes to make. Anything is considered art today. And that's the interesting thing about art. It's not necessarily how good you are, it's how good you are at marketing. That is the key. How good are you at convincing somebody you're good? That matters more. God, everything in this world, that's the case. But yeah, that's just a thing for sure. And I'm not even mad about it. I'm not mad if somebody's good enough at marketing, they're able to sell artwork that I would think is terrible. You know what? Good for you. I have the same opportunity. I need to then step it up. If you're able to sell that, then I should be able to sell mine. And if I'm not working hard enough on the marketing side of things. Deborah said, what do you think of Castle Soft Touch? Maybe I need to get polychromos to get the effects you do. Love your personality. Thank you. Castle Soft Touch aren't those more of a children's brand? You're probably going to see a big difference between that and polychromos. I don't remember. I've heard of them, but I'm pretty sure, and I could have this wrong, let me know if I do, I think that's a kids brand or something like you get on Amazon. Not that you can't get polychromos on Amazon, but it's your cheapo out of China stuff. None of the colored pencils that are coming out of China are any good. They're fine for kids. If I were teaching a kid, some of those are decent, and I think that that's fine for them. But when you get to where you're taking this seriously and you really want to learn, not just do quick sketches and stuff, then the materials you're using are going to make a big difference. Because if you're using a pencil that can't blend and layer like I'm doing, but you're trying to follow one of my lessons, you're going to be frustrated that that pencil just can't perform. It just physically cannot do what you want it to do. And that's not even counting the fact that none of those out of China are light fast, not a single one. They all say great light fast qualities, but none of them are testing. I know, I've contacted them. They don't test. It's very expensive. So that's kind of a But for certain things, like, I mean, heck, I try. Wait, are they released yet? Hold on, before I open my mouth on this, let me see if they've been released. I don't have the, okay. Are they there? I think they're there. Yeah, okay, they're released, so I can talk about it. So I got to test the grisaille. You guys remember the clownfish I did where you basically colored over a muted grisaille layer. I'm working on hopefully having some more of that coming up soon, like another project. But anyway, they make their own brand of colored pencils now, and I have some over here. I don't know. You can get them from Grisaille Art or something like that. They're not light fast. They didn't test for them. Of course not. You can't afford, like on a pencil like that, because you're going for something that is not necessarily to be, if you're doing a grisaille project, you're not doing it to sell or anything like that. So you don't really need light fast. So this was an option for people who wanted a lower cost pencil, but like a lot of them. And this one is a set of 72 for $50. They're decent for grisaille. I think they're going to be great. I think they're easy. You're not going to be able to get a lot of layers, but a lot of people starting out don't want that. They just want them to blend nicely. These did. And so I don't want to say that pencils that aren't light fast, like there's never a place for them, because I tried these ones recently, like last week or a couple days ago, and they were pretty cool for that purpose. For what I do for finished artwork, no, that's not a suitable alternative. So it just depends on what you're doing. What you're going to use them for. But if you're trying to get my techniques to work, none of those brands out of China are going to give you great results. And you will occasionally see videos, and this is very deceiving. You will see videos because all of those companies like Arteza, which is the crappiest, shadiest brand, I would never work with those, we'll call them a-holes. I was going to say that, a more harsh version of that. They pay, like if I were to be selling, let's say I went ahead and decided, sure, I'll hawk a crap brand with crap marketing and slave labor and all that fun stuff. Let's say I was okay with all of that and I started pushing that crap product. I get a percentage of the sales. So I have incentive to do it. I could make more money doing it. I won't because that feels dirty and I like to be able to sleep at night. I have enough insomnia. I don't need help. But if they, where was I going with that story? At a point, and then I went off on my tangent of how much I hated Arteza. Okay, they're just like Arteza. Then yeah, no, don't use them. They're not gonna get you the results that you want. But where was I going with that? Some of anyway, some of those companies, they're okay for sketchbooks. That's what I would use them for. Like I don't necessarily want to use my polychromos or my expensive pencils for quick sketches. But for something I'm going to sell, you're going to get very different results with a quality pencil than what you would get with those. But I was going somewhere with that rant about Arteza, and I don't know where it was, but my brain shut down because I got distracted. Maybe it'll come back to me later on. Oh, that's what it was. I remember. Okay, so here's the thing. You'll have a professional artist will review those products because they have incentive to sell them, or Marco Refiner, any of those. And I did do a review on the Marco Refiner. I was going to. I don't know if I ended up doing it. I used them. They were actually okay to learn with. I think those would have been fine. But they're not light fast again. But if what you have happen is a lot of artists will use them and be like, look how great they are. Look at the great results you can get. That's a professional artist. They could make coffee grounds look good. So it's not the results you're going to get with those pencils. Why get a pencil you're going to have to fight with? Like, is it worth the frustration of saving $50 or whatever it is? I don't know. I would rather see an artist get 12 good pencils than 150 crap. The actual, like, the enjoyment level you're going to get out of working with better pencils, it's night and day difference. Okay. But yeah, a lot, you just watch that when a YouTuber for whatever is demonstrating a product. Look how great it works. I mean, yeah, but the average person just starting, they're not going to be, it's not going to work out that well for them. Let's see. Yeah, the Castle Soft Touch, somebody said, are not like past and are all better for coloring adult coloring pages. See, and that would be an example, like an adult coloring page. That's perfect for the cheaper colored pencils. I would not necessarily want to waste a lot of money on Light Fast for a coloring page. That makes sense. Dolphin Soul said, I bought the Caran d'Ache pencil blender with a full blender in your links. Thought you knew how to use it, but not seeing much difference. Thought I knew how to use it. Can you show how to use it properly? So all that is it's just for burnishing. So you push hard with it and it burnishes the color. That's it. You could burnish the color without it, but you're adding more color. You're adding more pigment. If you burnish with a pencil, you're adding pigment. If you burnish, push hard with that full blender bright, you're burnishing, blending it without adding pigment. That's the difference there. So it's not needed. It's cool. But it depends on how much pigment you have down. You want to make sure if you're using that, test it on some scratch paper because you'll get different results. It depends on how much pigment you already have down. If you put a couple sketches, a couple lines, that blender's not going to, you didn't give it anything to work with. You've got to have a decent amount of pigment for that blender to do much. So that will make a difference too. Let's see. Is there any discontinued art product that you would like to try? No, the only discontinued art product that I wish would come back, it's not that I would like to try, I actually have it here. My AN4B, this is the high polymer. The new one, yeah, this is the high polymer. They make another one. AN has another 4B. It's not the high polymer. It's a different one. I don't like it at all. This stuff is like, I have a lifetime supply, so there's that, but I wish I could recommend it to you guys. You can't find it. I bought out everything I could find when they discontinued this. The closest I found, and it is actually very close, Faber-Castell's, I think theirs is 2B. It is very close, but it's for a mechanical pencil. Like there's a piece I'm working on right now that has so much little detail and graphite, and I like the mechanical pencil, and my God, the 4B is dark. Like you can get, it is so dark, but they don't make it anymore. So it's not that I'd want to try it. I just wish it was still there, but no, anything discontinued other than that, it's not something I'm super like. I don't actually, if something's discontinued when it comes to an art product, I'm not going to go buy it unless it was like a palette or something like that. But let's say certain colored pencil, certain acrylic paint, I'm not buying it. I can't get more. There's no reason for me to have that product. So with the exception of these LEDs. And also you still have this guy is available to bid. The link is in the description. If you want the pumpkin, he will come matted. He's a 5x7, so you'll pop him into, once he's matted, an 8x10. The words are so hard. 8x10 frame. Just a little reminder of him. He's so cute. Okay. Starving Artist Collective said, I knew a woman many years ago who took photos, had them printed on canvas, and then painted over them and sold them as original paintings. Legitimate or shady practice? It is an original painting. And it is a method. I've seen someone do that. They would take photos, but they would just put touch-ups of paint. But you knew that was their method. Like the buyers knew that she wasn't, or he, I think it was a dude that was doing it. I saw it in a gallery, and it was really cool. Like, you create art how you want to create art. If you're creating art that's cool, I don't care how you do it. I just care about what that end result was. And it was a cool effect. I really liked it. So I don't see anything wrong with that. As long as it's archival and people want it, what's the problem? I see nothing wrong with it as long as she's not lying about the fact that it's got faux portions. Now, the artist I'm talking about, portions of the painting were genuinely just straight out photo that had no paint over. So some of the piece would be photographed, some was straight painting, and it was kind of hard to tell which was which, but it was a cool effect. I don't see the problem. If that was a creation that somebody wants to hang on their wall, I see nothing wrong with it. And it was an original. Also, we've got Corey England Davis said, for the pups, let's look, they're out. They're not expecting anything. Would you guys like a super chat from Corey? Like, what? Really? You want a super chat? Thank you, Corey. Oh my gosh, that cow's suddenly here. You're just gonna keep rubbing your head on me, Gibson? See if it makes you go faster, yes. Thank you, Corey. Oh, I didn't make you look at me and you bit me again. I say bit me, but he just chomps and A little too much teeth involved. Such a bad cow. Thank you so much. Okay, go lay down. 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 Wade, turn around. Go lay down. Wade. Gibson, lay down. If we have to. Gibson. I don't know where you thought you were going. And down. All the way. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Python said, people recommended bad stuff for beginners. They say that you should have good enough before you're allowed to use get good enough before you're allowed to use good pencils. I hate it so much. Why do they do this? So I have two trains of thought on this. If you are 12 or older, get the good stuff. If you're just doing it for a sketchbook, use your cheap materials. Like I have some stuff that I got from like Smart Art Box that I didn't like the brand that much. I save them. I'm not getting rid of them. I'll use them in sketchbooks. I don't want to use my good stuff for something like that. So in that case, but the thing is, I find with students, until they hit about 12, with kids, something just doesn't quite click in their head. And with very few, there are exceptions, but they're fairly rare. Most of them, until they hit about 12, something snaps and they're like, oh, I get this. I understand what you're talking about. I understand what you're explaining. And it's not that they're like bad kids before that. There's something about art that right around that age of 12 is when they start taking it more seriously. So anyone 12 or older, get the good stuff. Get fewer colors, but get the good stuff. When they're younger, you know what? I'm going to let you play with it. I will guide you how you want. Well, I mean, I don't teach anymore, or kids anymore at all, but I'll guide them. What my attitude was, I will guide them. My main thing with the young ones was have fun. You want it to be enjoyable. You don't want to be forcing them. That's not good enough, because I saw parents do this. They would bring their kids in and then be complaining that what they were producing wasn't good enough. It's a child. I don't know what you're expecting. Like, there is no making that better unless you want. And that actually did get to that point for some of these kids. In order for them to have fun, I had to paint parts of it so their parents would let them keep coming to class, because they loved class. They loved what they were doing. They were in there with other kids their age, loved it. But the parents were being so critical, and no explaining will get through to some parents, that until they hit a certain age, it's not going to look amazing. And for some reason, 12 years old hits, and it's just a night and day, like not on their birthday, I don't mean to that extent, but right around that age, something just starts to click where they understand better. And so that's kind of my cutoff. Anything before that, yes, use the cheap stuff. Anything above that, if you're an adult, it doesn't matter if you're a beginner, I would still say, or 12 and older, I would still say get the good stuff. It's going to make your life way easier. It's going to be easier to learn. Those materials are going to be able to do things that those cheap ones just can't. So it gets very frustrating when you're following a lesson and you're like, it won't do that. It won't let me layer more. It won't let me do something more. It's hard when you're learning to understand, is it not doing what I want because I'm failing, or is it not doing what I want because it literally cannot do the thing that I want it to do? And that's why add more frustration when you're learning? So again, 12 and up, get the good stuff, just fewer colors if you're on a budget. Okay. Do we have any more? That's all I've got here. We still have, oh my God, we have a lot of time left. I don't know what you guys want to talk about. Or if you need a demonstration on something, well, I mean, I guess would have to be colored pencil because that's what's out. Cat's Heart Pick said, nice live stream, Lisa. Love the pumpkin. Gotta run. Have a good evening. Thanks for joining. What are we at with? Okay. Oh. Moody Roan said, I could see Gibson as a race dog. Pre-race stretch, mid-race stretch, 3/4 mile stretch point. Post. Yeah, that's pretty much yes. Starving Artist Collective said, latest rant. Do I have a latest rant? My usual is just the attitude that some people have of, I'm a beginner, I need beginner lessons. That will never not drive me crazy, because trying to get people to understand, no, jump into the hard stuff. If you want to get better, you have to do things that challenge you, that are going to look ugly while you're doing it. So I don't know that it's a real rant for me to go on, but it's been dry. Like, I get that a lot where people will send me questions and they're like, well, I think your stuff is too advanced. You don't have enough stuff for beginners. I have so much stuff for beginners, like too much stuff for beginners, and I need more advanced stuff because I want you to jump into that sooner rather than later. Is it hard and you don't know what to do? Copy what I'm doing. Pause the video, do the next few brush strokes, pause the video, do the next few, do the hard stuff. You will get better so much faster, but it can just be so hard to convince people of that. I guess it like feels scary. Art of Raven D said, I practiced with cheap stuff as a kid and teen and managed to get better at art, but as soon as I was able to afford better stuff in adulthood, I hopped on them. Yeah. Let's see. I really like the funny commercials with Matt. Are you going to make some more? I have one. I'm going to make an ad for Facebook for Christmas for Patreon. So yes, he is going to be in that one. I've been wanting to do more edited stuff. You notice I haven't had as many uploads lately because one of the problems with YouTube, well, it's hard for anyone to see anything on YouTube. So it's like, okay, no one watches these, so let me try something else. So I have some videos that I'm going to try doing more editing on and mix them in between the live streams. We'll see how that goes. We also have, let's see, Art by MV said, from my fur babies to your pups. You boys want another super chat? Wade was like on it. Whoops, that's the wrong camera.
Hey, you.
That's the wrong button. Okay. Ready? You need to look at me, Wade. Nope. Good. Out. There you go. My finger was in your mouth, but okay. Thank you so much. Let's see. Did you chew it? I gave you guys too big of a piece, huh? Oh, yeah, you're going to choke on it. Go lay down. Go choke over there. Go on. Go lay down. Gibson. Okay. Lay down. D-Lin Creative Art said, question, is there an easy way to see the undertones in a reference photo, the purples, blues, etc.? So my easiest way, and I have videos showing you how to do that, it's not necessarily, wait, go lay down. Now you're just not listening, bad cow. He's like, I'll just come back. My gosh. But the easiest way I find when you can't tell what color is, it's not necessarily the undertone, but just using an eyedropper tool in Photoshop where you pull it. I wonder if I can do this. So I can show this camera. Will it even show? Photo. Okay, you're going to get the worst example, but if you use in Photoshop, which mouse? This one. I can touch an area and go, okay, look how bright orange that is, this color up here. Now this is obviously not great, but I can see, okay, that's kind of a bluish gray. I can put a little bit of blue in that gray. How about the brown? It's got orange in it. I mean, you see how it changes over here? You can use this and get a general idea of the colors that you want to go with that way. But I use Photoshop for that when I need to tell. There we go. That's my favorite way if I'm not certain on a color, because sometimes when you have certain colors next to each other, it creates an illusion that it's something completely different. You look and you're like, yeah, that's green, and it was really purple. So when you're really struggling, that method can be very, very helpful. Just that eyedropper tool. Let's see. Where am I? Noctiscana said, do you have a recommendation for colored pencils as someone trying to learn? I'm considering polychromos. I don't know how much it matters starting out. I have 2 off brands and they're so different. I would say either just get a 12-pack. Get a 12-pack of polychromos and then a handful of Derwent Lightfast and see how you like that. With the Derwent Lightfast, my favorite, of course, are purple and Nightshade are like, I cannot live without those colors. Get the white with the Derwent Lightfast as well. And then get the 12-pack of polychromos. I think that would be a good start. You don't have to spend a lot of money and it gives you a real good feel for those pencils. But either of those brands, like that one or even Caran d'Ache Luminance, any one of those 3 brands you're not going to be unhappy with. But the polychromos, one of the reasons that I always recommend them, their set of 12 is just such a good solid set with like really good colors that make it very easy for mixing. But I would still want the purple, the Nightshade, and the white from Derwent Lightfast at least. Let's see. Ithri said, your tutorials are extremely easy to follow. Love them. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Alice said, do your dogs shed? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They both need a bath, and to get some of that, they've got some dead fur that I need to get out and brush out. And yes, we need a bath this week. It's warm enough, so we need to go do that. My cat sheds quite a bit, and sometimes hair sticks to wet paintings and mixes with the paint. Any advice on how to avoid that? I have old paintings with hair stuck to the paint. Well, if it's already in there, there's nothing you can do about it. If you try to pick it out, you're definitely going to be able to tell. But you need to be picking it out as you paint. You need to just be aware of that and watching for that. I don't have carpet in here, so I have Roomba, so that gets ran regularly to pick up the loose hair. Being neurotic like me and cleaning constantly helps, but even then, I mean, they shed. hair's going to get places. You just have to be aware of that and be picking that out of that as soon as you see it, because once it dries, even if you pick it out, you've got a line where that hair was. Ask me how I know. So yeah, it's kind of never ending with the shedding, isn't it? But do your best to vacuum, do your best to keep it cleaned up. But even doing that, you're still going to have hair make its way in, and you just, as you're painting, I take a smaller kind of stiff brush, something like this. It's a little bit smaller is better, and I just scoop that hair out. But be looking for it constantly. You have to do it while it's still wet. Python said, sometimes someone said acrylic artists move up to oils. I saw that on Instagram comments. People are so weird. There's a rant for me. The elitism with art. This is how I do it, and it is the best way, and I am the best, and my oh God, if I hear one more, my professor said this. Your professor was a crackpot. Most of them are. Sorry. True story. Yeah, you've got some in there, that some professors that are amazing. Good luck finding them. The majority, and especially art professors, the level of like superiority, but undeserved, that these people have. And somehow their students are like, yes, master, I believe everything you say. Like, you are my God of all things art, and I believe everything. Like, it's art. There is not one way to do anything. And I had a lady on a video recently go off, well, my professor in school was saying this about art, and these are legitimate things about using water with acrylics, and your professor was a crackpot. Well, I don't want to say crackpot. This was something that was taught for a very long time with no evidence behind it. It was all theory. But they were teaching it as fact. That sounds familiar with colleges, doesn't it? But they were teaching it as fact. And this went on for so many years. I mean, acrylics have been around since 1940. I think they were invented in the 30s, and like in the 40s, they started being used more regularly by artists. Been around for a very long time. Artists have been mixing water with them forever. But they still, for some reason, people are like, well, we don't know how it's going to behave. Yeah, back then they didn't. But that information just stuck of, if you mix too much water, this or this could happen. With no evidence, it was just theory that continued. And these professors who were ancient, who their ancient professors were telling them, and now their students to this day are being told that you can't mix water. I'm just using that one as an example. But their professors, I had one woman go off on me that her professor would have failed her if she had ever traced anything. I mean, okay, it's kind of weird that you got, and then the bragging about my degree in art, but you work at Macy's. Like, is that degree doing you any good, really? I'm having a hard time feeling like you are an authority on this. But yeah, that sort of thing just drives me insane, that elitism that some people have. You know what? If you want, kind of like the person who I was telling you about at that gallery who had printed stuff, they took the photograph, and I think that's the important part about that creation. The creation was there from the beginning to the end, the one I do respect. But they took the photograph, they put a few brush strokes over it that made these accents that looked awesome. Some artists I saw looking at that and complaining like, oh, they didn't really paint that. I know, but it's still cool. Like, if you don't like it, you don't like it, but it doesn't make their creation lesser because you don't like it. And that is such a weird thing with art. I see it more often than anyone from people who went to art college than anywhere else. And I don't know if it's a mentality of the type of person who goes to school for art is more likely to fall into that elitism, or if the school professors got them into, I don't know what the deal is there. It's something that I don't hear often from somebody who didn't go to art. It happens, go to college for art. But it is just the most frustrating thing when people think that because they went to college for art and they have this piece of paper over here says that I'm the best and I know how to do things better than you. Okay, you're late for that job at McDonald's though, aren't you? Have fun paying back that student loan. But yeah, there's my rant that it just drives me crazy, this attitude, the elitism that it comes so often with art. I see it on Reddit a lot. I see it like, people are just jerks. I think that's really what it boils down to. And the ones who made the time to get a degree to tell them that they were that made them feel like I can be a bigger jerk. Now, again, I've worked with plenty of students who have a degree in art. They were the nicest, best, like they were such good students. So it doesn't mean, I don't want to make it sound like I think everyone who went to college for art is one of these elitists. It's just so freaking common. I've been seeing it, I don't know if it's just like the culture of online stuff where people are just dicks to each other, because it is just, I've been seeing it so much lately. And it's just such a weird thing with art. Like, you're mad about, like, they're not hurting anybody creating the way they like. Why does that bother you? So, okay. JT said, "Hi there from San Antonio. Oh, you're dealing with our hot weather too. I got the impression that your Patreon was changing pricing. Can you update me on what's going on?" Yes. I'm the end of September, so right before October 1st, before the charges go out, it is going to go up by $2 per tier. So the $4 tier is not going to be $6. If you were a member, whatever price you're in, you're locked in. So if you are already a $4 member, you're a $9 member, your price, no one's price is going up. It's for new people just signing up. I haven't raised my prices in 9 years, but I also don't want to raise prices on people who are already members. So kind of a thank you for being a member all this time. I'm not raising your prices. It's for new signups after the price goes up at the end of this month, or September. But yes, that is coming. Let's see. JT said, your thoughts and suggestions for art fairs. It depends on where they are, which one they are. I know Laguna used to have a really good one, but it was super expensive to get a booth there. Can you sell enough to pay for that booth? And that's kind of the thing with a lot of art fairs, the ones where you've got to pay to have your booth. If it's $500-600, are you likely going to be able to make that money back to make it worth sitting in the sun all weekend and the wind and the damage to your product? I like selling online better personally. The only art shows that I do, it's indoor, and that's a part of it. If it was outdoor, I wouldn't do it. But Aquashella, I do that once a year, and that's it. I don't like to travel. I don't make enough to make up for, now I trade, I do the badge art for Aquashella in trade for my booth, so I'm not actually paying for the booth. But, I mean, I am, but trading work. But I don't make enough to make it worth the effort at those shows. You need a lot more, prints sell better than originals. The only originals I sell are quick charcoal sketches that are like $45-60. So yeah, they're just a lot of work. So I would say if you're going to go to one, if you're interested in one, like Fort Worth had one that was really cool, but it's outdoors in the sun in Texas. That is not fun. But go to it, walk around, talk to the other artists, ask them if it's been worth it for them, what their opinion was, would they do it again? Were the sales worth it? Did very many people come? Go yourself and just walk around and see if you think it'll be worth it. Don't just go sign up. When you're newer, well, this is what I did. I signed up for everything, and I'd get there and go like, oh, that was a bad idea. But yeah, go first, see it, and then sign up the next year if it seems like something that you would be interested in. That used to be the only way to really get your name out there, was if you could get into a local gallery, we would just do shows and go wherever you could get into, and that was the way to get your name out there. Well, now with the internet, it's not as necessary. So I would say look for something. I don't like the overall big art show. Those I find to be less successful than something that's more specified. So that's why I do Aquashella, and I bring a bunch of marine work. So it's like people who love fish, here's a bunch of my paintings with the ocean stuff, and that I'm more likely to sell at than an open fair of everything. No, when I used to do shows at Catalina Island, that was more of a vacation because it was fun. But I used to go down there once a year, and I don't know if they still do it, but they used to have those, and I have no idea what the price is now, so I don't know if it'd be worth it. But it was a lot of work because you had to take all of your paintings over on dollies on the ferry. It was so much work, or have it shipped. But that was just fun, and I did a lot of Catalina Island stuff and a lot of ocean-themed stuff, and so that actually did sell well. I had some times or some of those shows, I made a lot more, maybe $1,000. I was maybe up $1,000 after the hotel fee, after everything. But that is not my normal experience with most shows. But again, that one was more specified to ocean things. People were there, they wanted gifts and stuff, or themed stuff for an island that they had just traveled to. So that made more sense. Overall, art shows, I don't see myself being remotely interested in being a part of that. It can be, it's more work than it's worth, honestly, to me. But you're also talking to somebody with my fibromyalgia, my back problems and everything. Like, it's just too much physical work for me, and that's part of where I'm like, no, I'm out. Some people really like it, so there's that. But I personally have not found that in most cases it's worth the work. I definitely prefer working on the marketing side online. So there we go. Art by MB said, my professor stole my work, framed it so you couldn't see my signature, and still gave me a C in the class. What in the world? I am telling you, some of these college professors are the shadiest, like, oh my God. And again, not all of them, I know, but dear God. Art of Raven D said, there's a guy on Twitter who made a chart of good versus bad art, as if it's objective, yawn. Lavina said, do you know when the next Patreon mail will go out? Yes, Thursday, because I've got to put, no, tomorrow's Thursday, so Friday. So I've got to put stamps on the rest of them. I ran out of stamps, had to order them. They came in. I just haven't put them on yet. It's on, they're like sitting on my thing ready for the stamps. So yes, Thursday, they are going. I keep saying Thursday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Friday, they are going out. Unless, I could probably get them out tonight. Let me see if I can get stamps on how much energy I have after the live stream, which I'm probably going to crash after. So if it's not tonight, they go out on Friday. So that is coming. Python said, I remember an art store. I'm in an art store in Ontario say oils are only for professional artists. Told that to the kids I used to teach it to. Lynette said, my brother's professor decided to make his work better and painted over a section of his work without asking, changed the tone. Bro was understandably upset and hadn't drawn or painted the sense. You know, I hate when there's a teacher who discourages an artist. That always has bothered me. I don't like, this is why you don't have me do, like, even if I do a critique, I don't like doing the whole, what do they call it? The bash my art or bash this, or where they're what is the word that people like to do the videos, where they're just making fun of something terribly. Can I do it? Yeah. Would it be funny? Sure. I don't want to risk discouraging somebody who may be a beginner. I hate the idea of someone being discouraged, but at the same time, if you can't take that criticism and you're like, oh, I'm never painting again, it wasn't for you anyway. So, I mean, I kind of go back and forth on that. I mean, I still don't think it's right to discourage somebody, and that was a pretty crappy move of the professor for sure. But also, if that was enough to make someone give up, they weren't going to stick with it anyway. Art as a profession is not easy. Anything where you're being self-employed, not easy. There's so much stress that goes into that. And if somebody making a negative comment, if somebody, a professor fixing your work, if those are the things that made you not want to paint anymore, you weren't going to stick with it anyway. So maybe the professor did him a favor. But I mean, yeah, crap move, but also really that's what made you stop. So I kind of, like, for example, everyone you have freaking out. I was watching a video of a girl literally crying. She was definitely mentally disturbed. I mean, she'd admitted to her mental challenges in other videos, but she was flipping out. She's a good artist, flipping out about the AI stuff. It's the end of art as we know it, and it's the end of it. And it's like, art will never end. People will always have a drive to create. I don't care if AI is doing it or not, if AI is good or not. It's not the same as a hand-painted painting. It was weird, but the bizarre thing. But one of the things that she kept doing, young artists aren't going to want to paint anymore. And I've heard people say this, so it's not just her. Young artists, she was literally crying. This is my impression of somebody crying on camera for views. But she was saying how young artists weren't going to paint anymore. People weren't going to become artists anymore. You know what? If the idea that AI makes art is why you don't want to create, you weren't going to last anyway. I'm not even mad about it. Like, maybe that was a good thing that you learned early on that this wasn't for you. Because throughout history, there's always been something new that all the artists were crying that the sky was falling because, oh my God, this is happening, this is going to die. Acrylics were invented, no one's going to oil paint anymore. This colored pencil are here, then I don't know what the newest thing was. I mean, digital art was a big one. Digital art happened. Traditional media is dead now, except it isn't and it never will be. People have an inherent need, an inherent drive to create. It doesn't matter if AI is doing it. It doesn't matter if my neighbor is painting better than me. I'm never going to stop painting. I mean, that's not the case. But let's say it was. It's not going to make me stop painting. As an artist, there is this inherent need for me to create things, to make things. It doesn't matter what AI is doing. It doesn't matter what my neighbor is doing. It doesn't matter what new medium comes out. I'm going to keep doing it. And for all of the people like, it's the end of the world, no one's going to do it anymore. One, you're wrong. Two, you weren't going to stick with it anyway. You don't have the mental fortitude for this profession. If like that is what made you stop, then maybe Macy's was a good choice for you. So it just kind of, I think people overreact to everything. But what was, I don't even know where I was going with that my AI rant. But yeah, oh, I remember because you had said about your family member who stopped painting because of what the professor did. Was it a crap move by the professor? Yes. But that shouldn't be why somebody would stop. At the same time, it's like he probably did him a favor because it probably wasn't something he was going to enjoy. For somebody who truly loves art, there's nothing somebody is going to say that is going to make them stop. There's nothing, like, they're going to keep creating. It still makes me mad when it happens. But at the same time, somebody who truly loves art, nothing anyone says to me is going to make me stop. So, yeah. Okay. What else do we have? Let's see. Where was I? Here we go. Python said, people put beginners art in those bashing your art without the artist's consent. See, I'm not okay with that. I don't think that's cool at all. And that's the thing. When you're a beginner, you have to go into it knowing you're going to paint some ugly things. You should see some of the crap I've done. Heck, even today I occasionally paint something that I'm like, oh, that was a bad idea. I made some questionable choices there. Maybe I need a bit more sleep. But yeah, I mean, that it happens. It sucks. I'm not a fan of discouraging another artist. Yeah, not a fan. Art of Raven D said, I was really mad when I found out two of my drawings were fed to AI. However, it doesn't stop me from drawing. Yeah, and I'm mad about that too. I don't like what's going on with AI art. Like, I'm not saying there's no genuine complaints about it. I'm saying that shouldn't be the reason somebody gives up on art. AI art, it needs, and I always love the people, it doesn't, because it's trained on art that already exists. Well, that's not how it works. You can word it however you want. You can tell me that hole in the side of the wall that you walk through and it has another board that opens and closes isn't a door. It's an effing door. You call it what you want, but that's what it is. And AI art is being trained on our art. I don't care how you word it. That's the gist of it. And a door is a door. The AI art is being fed on ours. You can tell because there is art where you can tell what artist it came from. The better AI art does that. And I like AI. To be clear, I'm a fan of AI, but only done legally. Like ChatGPT, oh my God. It helps me figure out the wording on things where I'm like, well, how would this be? It has helped me a lot. I'm not an anti-AI person. But the way AI art is done and the way the laws currently are, it's a problem and it needs to be fixed. It is absolutely a problem. But does that mean I'm going to stop painting? No. I imagine that the laws will catch up to that and fix it. I would hope, but who knows? But it's not going to make me not paint or draw. Like, I'm not going to stop creating because of it. So yeah, it's kind of, it's just typical. Everyone does the whole the sky is falling over everything. And it's like, okay, calm down. Let's think about this. Don't give up something you love because something else is, yeah. But yeah, no, traditional art is never going away. It will never go away. If that means people are making their own charcoal and they're drawing on a rock, it's always going to be a thing. It's always been a thing. It will always be a thing because people have an inherent, it's embedded into them, a need to create things. So that will always be a thing. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. If photography didn't stop painters, then neither will AI. You're right, and that was another thing. People were saying that there was no need for portrait artists. Were they used as often? Maybe not, but it didn't end the profession. Anyone who wanted to do it kept doing it. Let's see. Let me scroll up. Fly Me to the Moon says, I think that the question becomes, why do you paint? Then AI doesn't matter. Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. Art of Raven D said, well, I was really, okay, I got that one. Thank you, Karina. Yeah, I have, Art of Raven D said, yeah, I saw you in a data set as well. Oh, absolutely. There's no way it's not. That's just how these things scour the internet and take people's art and then use it as a training, learning thing. One of my favorite things about the pro AI art, the people who are like, no, that's not how it works. It's fine. It doesn't copy other artists. And one of the people who kept leaving comments, I had to block him because he was an idiot. But like, I'm sorry, you're too dumb for me. But he was going on about, well, if an artist looks at a painting, it's just being inspired by it if they copy it. Dude, we aren't allowed to do that. We can't look at a painting and copy it and have it be legal. That's not legal. That's the point. That is the complaint that the artists have. It's not legal for me to look at a painting and copy it, so it shouldn't be legal for the AI to copy it in a manner that it is still recognizable as my original art. That is the problem. And it amazes me how many people cannot grasp that. But then again, okay, well, I won't finish that sentence because I can get myself in trouble. Let's see. I've got dots. Why do I have dots? It like said that I had a message, but it gave me dots instead. Tea. How is the bearded dragon doing? Funny you ask that. So you guys want to see him? Hold on, I'll go get him. I think it's a boy now. I don't think it's a girl. I think it ended up being a boy. It was hard to tell when he was little and sickly. Come here, dragon. You stay there, boys. Do you want to come be on video? Will you let me pick you up right now? Hi, dragon. I'm gonna get you, okay? Good dragon. Oh, hold on, I got you. I got you. I know, we're working on being handled, so he wasn't used to being handled very often. He's a pretty orange guy. He looks kind of dull on there, but he's, oh, because you're shedding again. You're always shedding. So this little guy, he was so tiny. When we got him, he'd eat not great, and he wouldn't grow. Like, it was getting scary how much, and you've heard me say it was a she, you've heard me say it was a male. I don't know. I can't tell that well. But point is, when it was little, it was so, I say she then because that's what I thought it was, but he was super underweight and sketchy, didn't really want to be picked up, and he would get stressed and start shaking and flop over on his back with his legs in the air. Like, the shaking was really bad. So looking into it, it looks like he has a virus that these guys are super common with. They might live with it, they may not. If they get through, like as babies, that's the biggest risk, or when they're older or more like fragile. But I started giving him dandelions, oddly enough. Hi, I know. I don't know what it was about, is that more comfy? I don't know what it was about the dandelions. Once he started getting those, he started growing, he started eating like crazy. I mean, there were just dandelions I picked out of my backyard. Different animal, and he is always shedding. He has been growing so fast. We didn't think he'd get, I don't know if you can see how big he is, but we didn't even think he'd get this big because he was not growing at all. But he's doing super well. Great personality. Like, now that he's gotten bigger and older, he's doing well with being handled by us regularly. It's not stressing him out. Like, he would just be shaking. And so part of that, I can understand being stressed, but so that's why I wasn't holding him often. I thought that the stress might be triggering the seizure type thing where he'd flip over on his legs. And the flipping over wasn't even just when I would hold him. He'd be in the cage and he would go in and eat, and then all of a sudden flip over on his back, stiff, legs in the air. That was scary. It was like, oh my God. So I never really shared him much with you guys because I didn't think he was gonna live. I thought, you get that disease. Are you wiggly? Hold on, I'll go put you back. And then I'll finish this story. You're doing good, dragon. There you go. There's your stick. Get comfy. You can have bugs later. So yeah, anyway, now he's done really well, and he was so tiny. We started as his baby tank was a 40-gallon tank, and so I was like, he's not this never shed, never grew, very odd. He was like this big when he should be. The size he is right now is what he should have been, God, 6 months ago. So now it's almost nonstop shedding because he's been growing so fast. Once I started feeding dandelions, and it's not that he wasn't eating. He was eating he had his calcium, he had the proper lighting, proper heating, proper everything. But yeah, I didn't share him with you guys because I was like, he's not going to live. And I don't want to make everyone else sad too if he is sickly. I want to give him the best chance possible, but also I didn't have super high hopes. Well, now he's been doing so good for a while, so we're going to get to the point where he is going to need an upgrade on that tank. So I'm looking at one from Dubia.com, there where I get his roaches he eats. Though they have a big, like 150-gallon tank that's really, really nice. And I think the wall behind the boys, that wall back there, I'm going to put it back there, and I've got to figure out, if any of you guys are woodworkers and you're in the Dallas area, let me know. I want to do built-in shelves back there that my plants can sit on, maybe bookshelves, but like floor to ceiling I thought would be really cool. And then his tank right in the middle, like this big, huge house. So for him, that would be, I was just thinking about this today. It's funny that you asked, because I was just thinking about, oh my, I actually am going to have to I need to upgrade that tank soon. He's going to live. He's doing good. So yeah, that is my story of that dragon and why you guys didn't see him often. But I do want to get him back behind where the boys are there. It'll look nicer. It'll be a bigger tank, like a way bigger tank than what he's in. And the 40-gallon, I mean, he's not that big, so the 40-gallon is fine, but it's not a long-term, like, I do want him to have, if he keeps growing like this, I want him having as big of a vivarium as possible. So I'm going to model for a pencil piece. Yeah, I think so. I need to get some good photos. I'll have to get some for you guys. The last time I took good photos was when he was a baby, and then I stopped because it was sad. I'm like, he's dying. He's got, I forget the virus that it's called. It's like ADVAVDA something. And it's not that he doesn't still have that virus. It's that he's strong enough to handle it. Like, it's something you can have, they can have, and they can live a full life with it. But some of them, when they're weak and young, and that seems, I think, what happened with him. And I don't know what the heck it is about dandelions, but that was the turning point. Like, all of a sudden, he was alert. His eyes were open all the way. Like, he slept most of the time before. Nothing was helping him. So yeah, that is my story of the baby. We just call him Dragon, or baby dragon. At one point, when we thought it was a female, we were calling him Blanche. But if it's male, we're probably just going to always call him Dragon, because we've just gotten used to that. So anyway, do you know any good books or movies where the main character is an artist? I feel most representation is hilarious. Yeah, yes it is. Most representation of artists is, I was sketching and I looked down and suddenly I realized I had drawn this entire scene that something or another. I was sketching and wasn't paying attention, and suddenly I realized I drew him. That's not how any of this works. Or one of my favorites, and it was such a horrible author anyway, but she was writing about this woman was painting, and she was painting in oils and dropped her brush, and paint splattered everywhere. With oil paint? Oil paint splattered everywhere. Didn't do any research there, did you? So yeah, those are I don't know any books that have an artist where they're like, well done. These people who write about artists should probably research something more, because they all do that. I was sketching mindlessly and I looked down and I had this perfect representation, photorealistic representation of him. And I'm like, okay, let's see. Art of Raven D said, I just read the charcoal. Okay, that was that. That wasn't to me. My granddaughter has a bearded dragon. Lots of people do it, and I love them. What a gorgeous color he is. Thank you. If it weren't for his scales, I'd suggest the little fella for a live stream. Yeah, those scales would take forever to draw, for sure. Let's see. Karina said, I will never give up on art because of AI. I do hope they bring in some laws to control it, though. Oh, absolutely. We need laws. See, that's why it's hard for me to talk about it, because I'm realistic and I don't have this emotional, it's all bad, it's all good. It's like I can see both sides. I can see where there are things about AI I like. If they're getting the images they're using, that they're training it on, are legally obtained. Artist copyright material, not legally, like, no. So yeah, no, I'm not opposed to AI at all. Let's see, Mr. Justo said, get a jeweler's loupe and take a look. Should see pores pretty easily on a male beardy. Well, okay, so under the tail, it's like, if it's a female, there's a horizontal lump. If there's a male, there's the two sides. And when he was so skinny and underweight and little, I swear I saw all of it. And it's like I see sides and the middle one. So I never got good at that. And I haven't really messed with him enough to lift his tail, because he's like the heck are you doing? The last time I looked, me and my husband were looking at it, and it looked like he had the two little sidelong things. So I think it's a male, and there are pores on the legs, but females can technically have those too, sort of. So I do think I'm leaning towards boy, but I'm not. If I could have like a picture or have one next to me that was boy and girl, it would be easier for me to tell, but I'm not experienced enough for that. Let's see. Karina said, oh my gosh, I didn't know you have a bearded dragon when I sent you that picture in the email this morning. I got that. I actually just read that a little while ago. I have not replied to you yet. Thank you. Well, I can reply to you now. Thank you very much. Lavina said, I love his colors. Oops, that just scrolled too fast. I'll go through these. We'll wrap this up. Yeah, Sneak said there has to be a nutrient in the dandelions that he needed. There's so much medicinal like purposes for dandelions that something in there, it was like, I don't have any doubt because it's the only thing I changed. And like, yeah, it was crazy, the difference. And so I got one of those arrow gardens and I bought a bunch of dandelion seeds so I can grow them on my own year round. I didn't need to set that up. Let's see. Yeah, Lavina said, I always wondered what it was that was moving behind you. Yep, that's what the lights back there are, the lights for the dragon's tank. I'm really hoping I can get this set up behind me. It's just, I need something custom built. And I'm like, do I get a saw and learn to do woodworking? Like, I have time for that. I need something custom for the wall around it. And that's, yeah. Do I have any jumping spiders yet? I have, and they have, everyone I've had I've lost eventually through a molt. They only live like a year, so they're not a long-lived species, but yeah, we have them here, and I've gotten to where now I just like to catch them and then I'll set them free, but I don't like keep them just because I don't need more animals to take care of, but they're native to this area. We have the bold jumping spiders and there's the bold and the gray, and they're so so yeah, whenever one is living in my screen, it's like, oh, here's some water. Let me spray this for you. Enjoy. I love them. Art of Raven D said, we have a male house finch we marked as a female. We call her she and baby girl regardless. I'm just scrolling down, making sure I didn't. Oh, who won? Somebody. Linda said, thanks, Lisa. I won. Now, if I can get the payment to work, we'll get it working. Yay. Let's see. Yeah, Karina said dandelions are a superfood. They ate them every day for hundreds of years ago. Yeah, I was looking at these organic teas or dandelion teas. Dandelion root? I don't know. I'm going to order some. But yeah, I was definitely thinking about that for myself as well. I'm just scrolling. Okay, I think we are good. Thank you. Oh, you got it to work, Linda. Yay. Thank you guys so much for joining. I don't know what we're doing next week, but the following week, so 1 week so 2 weeks from tonight, we are going to be doing, it'll be open to patrons at the $19 tier. And then depending on how many submit from there, I'll lower the tier until I get 20 submissions. We're going to be doing a critique night. So there won't be an auction that night. Maybe we'll do an auction of something that I already have done. But that would be fun. We can have that going during the stream. But we're going to finally do an art critique night. And this is not bashing anyone's art. This is actually helping people. But it will start, because I get so many submissions, we're going to start with Patreon at the $19 tier. And I'll make an announcement over there in the next few days. So you can start emailing me those. And then once I hit 20, so like however many, I'll give you a few days on the $19 tier, then I'll open it up to the $14 tier, and then, you know, work my way down until I have 20 total. So that is coming. If you were on the $19 tier, you are guaranteed, even if that means I do 2 nights of critiques, I will get everyone in on that one for sure. So thank you guys so much. I will see you guys next Wednesday. Is that it? I don't know what we're doing next Wednesday. I'm sure Dolphin Soul will help me pick something else. She keeps, you guys need to thank Dolphin Soul. She keeps on me and finds more of my errors. Well, actually, all of you guys over on Discord have been finding my errors, and I still need to go back and fix. But she's always big. Did you pick it yet? Did you get it ready yet? And like things that I forget to post on Patreon, she reminds me. It's awesome. So thank you guys, all of you who remind me of things. Thank you so much, because it's like you're my little personal assistants that I don't have otherwise. So anyway, thank you guys so much. I will talk to you guys next week. I think that is it. Where are my buttons? I don't know where my buttons are. This button? Sure, let's try this one. If you want to learn to paint and draw, but you don't have any experience, or your drawing skills aren't that good, join over 1,100 students and follow along with over 300 painting and drawing lessons. There are over 675 hours worth of lessons and new ones every week, just waiting to turn you into a master. The great thing about these classes are that you get to do them from your own home in your own time. If you're taking in-person classes, often it's very hard, where you're either falling behind, you're trying to rush to keep up with other students, or you're working faster than the other students waiting for them to catch up to you. With my classes, there is no time limit. You can work at your own pace, whatever feels comfortable for you. Join before October and you will lock in my 2014 prices. That gives you all of these lessons for as little as $4 a month, plus bonus content to help you master your medium.